Bat first. Oh, it's okay. Number one is an equation that you're going to solve by factoring. And on Monday, you have a 100-point quiz, just like number one.
Okay.
Not like number 2 and 3, because 2 and 3 is a new lesson. You can do 2 and 3 by factoring, but you don't have to. Okay? I'll show you. X squared minus 2x minus 48 equals 0. Okay, I subtracted 48 from both sides. Now you factor. Factors of 48 that give me a negative 2, negative 8, positive 6. X minus 8 equals 0. X plus 6 equals 0. X is positive 8. X is negative 6. 2 solutions. Most of your answers will have 2 solutions on Monday. Not all of them, most of them. Okay? Questions? Yeah.
Like when we write down the answer, should we put 8 comma negative 6?
I don't care how you put it. You can put and. Okay? You can write it twice. Whatever you want. All right. Number 2, I assume you factored the difference of 2 perfect squares. One's plus, one's minus. You solve this one for 0, and you solve this one for 0. Subtract 5. 2x is negative 5. Divide by 2. Negative 2.5, negative 5 halves, negative 2.5, whatever. And this one you add 5. 2x is 5. Divide by 2. X is good enough. 2.5, 5 halves, whatever. Or you could just write your answer plus or minus 5 halves, 2.5. Questions? I'm going to show you another way to do that one. If I tell you to solve by square root, I'm asking you to solve to get x squared by itself. How do I get x squared by itself first? What's the first step I need?
Add 25.
Add 25. Plus 25 plus 25. 4x squared equals 25. Now what would you do if you're solving for x squared? Divide by 4. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. X squared equals 25 fourths. Take the square root of x squared. Take the square root of 25 over 4. X equals the square root of 25 over the square root of 2, plus or minus. It's called solving by square root. Thank you, I'm sorry. Okay. Number 3 can be done the same way. My guess is you just put negative 7. There's only one answer, negative 7. Okay, solving by square root means you can take the square root of both sides. Square root of that is x plus 7. Square root of 0 is 0. Subtract 7, x is negative 7. Tonight you're going to solve all of them by square root. Now your answer can sometimes get you all the way down to, well, let's just do this one. If I tell you to solve by square root, you take the square root of this and the square root of that. X equals, if you punch it into your calculator, you get 7 point something. Okay? You don't need to. If I tell you to give the answer in simplest radical form, it's not on your homework tonight to do it in simplest radical form, but next week you're going to learn the quadratic formula and you're going to be answering in simplest radical form. So I thought it was time we reviewed it. The square root of 60 can be broken down into a perfect square and the non-perfect square. Remember that? Find the biggest square root that goes into 60. The biggest perfect square. That's the only perfect square that goes into 60. Final answer to radical 15. Questions? Okay, let's do these three and continue with the lesson, and then we'll do the story problems. Can anybody tell me what perfect square goes into 50? The square root of 25. You always write the perfect square first. It's like a coefficient. The square root of 25 times the square root of 2. What is the square root of 25? 5. Questions? No? All right, I want you to try 80 on a piece of scrap paper, because 80 is the most common missed simplifier. Try 80. I give you 1 minute. If you're home, you can fast forward or try it yourself. No paper? You're not going to write on my desk, are you?
No, I'm not gonna write.
That's good.
I was just thinking it.
Find a perfect square that goes into 80. Go that way, I'm filming.
Alright.
Did you get one?
She told me to come back down 6th period during my weights class to talk to her because she was teaching a lesson and I didn't want to interrupt her.
That's called manners. Anybody want to start with something? Ah, he's got the fastest answer. Square root of 16 times the square root of 5. Final answer, 4 square root of 5. Now, what's another way to start?
4.
4 and 20, right? The square root of 4 times the square root of 20 is 2 times the square root of 20. But the 20 also has a 4 in it. That's where the 16 came from. 4 twice. 2, radical 4, radical 5. That's 2 times 2, and you get the same answer. Huh? It's just longer because you didn't know the biggest one. I would memorize this 80. 80 comes up all the time. It just always comes up, huh?
Is it gonna be on?
It'll be on your final for sure. That 80 comes up all the time. Now, what do we do with this radical 90?
245.
What?
245.
None of those is a perfect square. It doesn't help.
9 and 10.
Then you're stuck. 9 and 10. The answer to that is 3. That's not a perfect square. That's the final answer. Okay, this is way back to the first semester, and you have to know how to do it, and I cannot spend days on it. All I can do is keep throwing it on the bat, and hopefully by Wednesday, when you have to know how to do it, you'll be ready. There is a video on it somewhere on YouTube called Simplifying Radicals. I can tell you what section it is at the end of class. All right, so there's a rule that says you can take the square root of both sides, and then x equals plus or minus whatever a is, okay? We don't know. So, if I give you this problem, and I tell you to solve by square root, if I'm telling you to solve by square root, I'm telling you not to factor. Subtract 5, x squared equals 0, x is 0. One answer. There's no plus or minus 0. All right. x plus 2 squared. Now you can mentally do that. What's the answer? 7. No, it's not. 7, 9 times 9 is not 9. Has to equal 9, guys. Something squared is 9. What?
3.
How you going to get a 3 here?
X equals 1.
X is 1. There's another answer.
Negative 1?
Negative 1 gives me 1 on the left side. Has to be 9.
I'm confused on what's going on. Period.
1 plus 2 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 1 is one of the answers. There's another one. Who said that? What? Negative what?
2?
Negative 2 plus 2
No,
is
negative
0.
5.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Huh?
Is it negative 5?
Negative 5. Negative 5 plus 2 is
Negative 3.
negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 3, positive 9. Now, solving by square root means you're going to take the square root of both sides. The square root of x plus 2 squared is just x plus 2. The square root of 9 is plus or minus 3. Okay, you with me? X plus 2 equals positive 3. X plus 2 equals negative 3. Subtract 2. There's your 1. Subtract 2. There's your negative 5. And if you plug them back in, you get 9 either way. Okay, you can always plug it back in and see if it works.
So you're supposed to have 2 answers somewhere.
You will have 2 answers unless it's the square root of 0.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Story problem. Since I'm filming, I'm going to go ahead and do it for you. All right. The length is twice as long as the... Now, you can mentally do this, maybe. I don't know. No, you can't. It's too hard. The length is twice as long as the width. First, you're going to define your variable. X equals width. What will the length be if x is the width? Huh? 2x. Twice as long. Twice as long. All right. Length times width equals the area. Can somebody give me an equation? Yes.
2x times x equals 120.
Equals 120. Well, that's 2x squared. 2x squared equals 120. We're solving for x. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. X squared equals 60. Square root. Square root. Just simplified that on number 4 of the back. X equals plus or minus, oops, 2 radical 15. If I told you to give the answer to the nearest tenth, which is what you're doing on your homework, because I don't feel like we reviewed this enough, you would just punch in the square root of 60. Make sure you know how to do that on your calculator right now. What is the square root of 60 to the nearest tenth? 7 point what? 7.7 or 7.8?
7.7.
All right. What's the third? What's the second number? 7.7b. Okay. Let me just do a couple more to make sure you can solve by square root. Now, there's not going to be any rule on how to solve in Algebra 2. I don't know that there is, but my guess is you can solve any way you know how. Next week, I'm going to show you how to solve with a formula. The formula will give you the solution every time. And somebody always says, well, why don't I just use the formula? I don't have to know how to factor. True. You can use the formula every time to get the answer, but it takes a whole page of work. So it's not that much fun. It doesn't matter how long anymore.
No, I
For
just
some
wanna
reason,
know.
they're allowing me to talk forever.
Wait, on the YouTube thing?
Yeah. All of a sudden, I have as long as I want.
Get the razor. You probably got an
Followers,
update.
they let you.
I probably updated something
Yeah.
and it let me do it. Yeah. All right, so let's say I have x squared minus 8 equals 56. What should I do to solve for x squared?
Add 8.
Add 8. X squared equals 64. Take the square root. Take the square root. Plus or minus 8. Okay? You can do that? Probably. Just think of it as an x. You know how to solve for x. Just think of it as an x. Okay? If it says 3x squared equals 12, what do? Divide by 3. X squared is 4. X is 2. By the way, on your homework, if it doesn't say round to something, then it should come out. Okay? Come out to a perfect square. All right, let's go over the story problems. And that's it. We're good to go.